We're disappointed in you, Arthur.
You're going to have a long time to think about what you did to this store and to yourself.
I will. And that's why I'm inside on a perfect Sunday afternoon. All because of a toy I just had to have.
Wow, I'm glad I got mine for my birthday. Well, see you in school tomorrow.
You can wash up for dinner soon, Buster. And remember, dinner, but no dessert.
She really knows how to hurt a guy. 1 weekend down, 4 more to go.
Which Arthur character are you?
I am a Francine. Because I really like sports.
Would you just shoot already?
I like soccer.
Woohoo! Give it up for Francine, the soccer queen.
I like the sound of that.
Wow.
PBS Kids wants you to get your animal on with the Wildcrats.
Activate Dragonfly powers!
Watch Wildcrats every weekday on PBS Kids or anytime on the PBS Kids video app.
Funding for Arthur is provided by...
When children love learning, they can achieve wonderful things. ABCmouse.com Early Learning Academy. Proud sponsor of PBS Kids and Arthur.
A cooperative agreement with the U.S. Department of Education, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting's Ready to Learn grant, and by viewers like you. Thank you. To watch more Arthur and play games with all the Elwood City friends, visit pbskids.org. You can find Arthur books and lots of other books too at your local library.
It's the PBS Kids video app. Yeah! The one place to watch your favorite shows, whenever and wherever you want.
Tiger-tastic!
With new clips added every week.
Whoa!
Solid!
And a live TV button that takes you to full episodes that play all day long.
Sensational!
The PBS Kids video app. Watch when you want, wherever you want. Free for download today.
EQT presents the PBS Kids Writers Contest. Our panel of expert judges is looking for original, illustrated stories from children in kindergarten through 5th grade. Kids from your area can compete for great prizes and a chance to have their stories published online. Right on.
Go to wvpublic.org for more information and entry forms. Deadline to enter is March 31st. Brought to you by EQT and West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
PBS Kids brings the fun.
Woohoo! This is fun!
This is fun! This is so fun!
So funny!
And it doesn't have to stop.
Yes, yes! Getting dirty is noble and fun.
After school.
That was fun!
After dinner.
Ooh, fun! That's kind of fun.
The fun never stops on PBS Kids.
To find out where you can watch PBS Kids on West Virginia Public Broadcasting, visit our website at wvpublic.org.
You're watching West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
From West Virginia Public Broadcasting. Support for the legislature today is provided by
West Virginia University, a land-grant, space grant, R1 research institution. Learn more at wvu.edu.
Good evening from the Capitol building in Charleston. I'm Suzanne Higgins. On the legislature today, we'll get updates on gun legislation, a renewable energy bill, and more. But first, the Senate has passed its version of a state budget for next year. Dave Mistich spoke earlier today to the Senate Finance Chair, Craig Blair of Berkeley County, and committee minority member William Ehlenfeld of Ohio County.
Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. I want to start with the revenue report for February that your office released today, Chairman Blair. It appears the numbers were higher than estimates for the past month. State was about $1.6 million above those estimates for February. If you would break that down for us, where are we faring well and where are we struggling?
All right. Well, our preliminary collections for the month was just almost $300 million, and we were up 1.68 for the month over the estimate. Of our sales and use tax, the insurance tax, and the corporate net all exceeded the monthly revenue estimates. Sales and use was $5.2 million. Insurance was $3.9 million above estimate, and the corporate net was $5.2 million above estimate. But we're going to go on to what I've went over and over, and that is the severance tax roller coaster that we seem to get on in this state. The severance tax collections were $26.2 million, but it was $7.4 million below the revenue estimates. Right. And that's because cost of coal and natural gas are down. And then the personal income tax collections was $7.8 million below estimate as well, and that's got to do with part of the pipeline and the time of the year. Of construction goes down and things like that, so that has a bearing on it as well. I think we're still tracking fairly well for the year. Right now we stand at just a little bit under $19 million below estimate for the year. Right. That's manageable from this standpoint. We'd rather be ahead. But you have to also keep in mind that our budget was predicated on a larger revenue that we had last year too. And I'm not overly fond of that, but we have a strong governor in this state. Governorship is what I should be saying. So he sets the revenue estimates, adjusts them up and down and all that. So that's where we're at.
Right. You mentioned that $19 million deficit 7 months into the fiscal year. Does that situation play any role in putting a budget together for the upcoming fiscal year?
Well, the only thing it has a bearing on is the surplus section. Lots of times that we'll put something into this year's budget and it has everything to do with the surplus on the year that we're finishing up. And if there's money left over, it comes out, half of it goes to the rainy day fund, half of it does the surplus. Right. Or it can all go to rainy day or be supplemented out. And that's one of the things that has taken place in the past. We did some supplements out. Last year, for instance, we supplemented out and we had the third largest contribution to the rainy day fund that we ever had. So the money's being managed wisely to a greater degree on this. And it's all worked together with the minority, the majority, and the governor's office. And I'll have to give the cabinet secretaries that I've been working with, agency heads is maybe a better way of putting it, has done a good job of working with us and of trying to find efficiencies. We're always looking for those efficiencies in government so that we can do more for less for the people of West Virginia.
Senator Ehlenfeld, what's your take on the current budget picture? The revenue numbers, like I said, $19 million deficit 7 months into this year. What's your take on things?
Well, I agree with Senator Blair. I wish it was looking a little bit better than it does right now. And looking forward, looking to the out years, the next 5 years or so, things look to be somewhat gloomy when it comes to the budget in West Virginia. And we've got so many needs, whether it's with seniors, whether it's with public employees, whether it's helping foster children, and there's so many needs in West Virginia and just not enough revenue to keep up with it all. And he's right. We have a roller coaster, and that severance tax is a big part of it. I wish things were brighter. We've got a lot of work to do, but he has a great staff. Senator Blair has a great staff. They work very hard behind the scenes to make all of the numbers work, and we have to work with what we've got, and hopefully someday that picture will be become a little bit brighter.
Right. And you mentioned the out years. There's been some concern, not just this current fiscal year, the upcoming fiscal year, but years down the road, that we're talking about bigger and bigger deficits as things roll along. Looking into the future, what are you seeing, Chairman Blair?
Well, it's hard to predict that. I don't pay too much attention to these 6-year numbers out into the future. Numbers can be manipulated, and they get manipulated. When we had last year, when we had the almost $500 million in extra revenue, well, we didn't come in with that prediction of that happening. It comes back to the severance tax roller coaster. If you got coal and natural gas and oil where those numbers are up, we pull in a larger number on that. When you've got the two natural gas pipelines that are in the court system right now, rather than working or being built, that hurts the numbers through the employment side and also the sales tax collection, because lots of times there's people that are living in hotels or campers and they're spending money in the state of West Virginia. But when they're gone, gas can be actually moving through those pipelines, and that gives us an opportunity for greater sales tax collections as well. So I'm an advocate. I want these two gas lines in operation, and then when you look at all our abilities to get gas out of this state, we're coming up to where we're hitting the ceiling on that. We need to put in place the ability to have businesses that utilize that and make an end product with it for the petrochemical industry on that, because otherwise we're not going to be able to get gas in the drilling in this state, which is really slowed down to begin with. We'll get even slower from that standpoint. So we got to be able to utilize the resources that we have.
Right. I want to get into the specifics of the Senate's version of the budget. I understand that this year that's going to be the vehicle, so to speak. The House, I believe, is going to strike and insert. Right. So the House is going to do their strike and insert tomorrow. And then it's going to come back over here. But the Senate Bill 150 is the vehicle, so to speak. One of the things that struck me right off the bat is that you guys are going created a budget below the governor's revenue estimates. What is the governor being too optimistic in looking into this? It's not by much. It's a few $1 million, I understand. But is the governor being too optimistic as far as the future here? Or?
Well, when we in Finance Committee started our budget and everything, I started out with probably a $60 million cushion. Then it got down to 40 and 30, then it was 14, and I ended up with $666,000 and something like that. I didn't like that number, by the way. But it is what it is on that. But it's still too early to pay too much attention to that. But we wanted to have a cushion in there because of the fact that the governor did give us a budget that didn't have a penny to spare in it. So you could not do improvements, for instance, like foster care or of intermediate court of appeals. There's a whole host of things that are in the pipeline. You got to be able to have that cushion in place, either on the House side or the Senate side. Makes no difference on that. And we've done that. That's one of the reasons why I went in and did IDD waiver, and I called a lot of grief over that. But I wanted that $10 million back and have an opportunity that we could come back in and backfill it into there, but we needed some cushion to be able to take care of the improvements that both the minority and the majority that passed out of the Senate. Look, I never even looked, and he's been back and seen the board back here. I don't look to see whether it's a minority bill or a majority bill, it's whether it's a good idea or not.
Right.
And then I do everything I can to make it so that those bills get across the finish line because we're the Senate.
And your take on this Senate version that came out of committee that's now that was amended over the weekend. What's your understanding of how did that shape up in your eyes?
Well, I think there's some things in there that don't need to be in there, and specifically the Intermediate Court of Appeals. That's not something that I'm an advocate for. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's expensive, and I think it's something where we could take those dollars and use them someplace else. For the categories that I mentioned before, our seniors, they need so much when it comes to nutrition, transportation, getting to health care appointments. I'd like to do more with the trauma-informed approach in the elementary schools, but that's one thing in particular that I wish wasn't in the budget. I wish we could move those dollars and and use them elsewhere.
Right. And you mentioned that Intermediate Court of Appeals. You offered an amendment that would open that bill up to criminal cases, to criminal proceedings. That did not fly on the Senate side, but it did over the weekend in House Judiciary. Yeah. When that bill comes back, I mean, presumably that would cost more money. Am I wrong? I mean, or am I right? I mean, what's your take? I mean,
yeah, it will cost more money with that being part of that system. I don't know exactly how much more, but it will cost more. I'm still opposed to the concept. I think it's better, though, with the criminal piece being added to it. I'm the one who argued for that on the Senate floor, unsuccessfully, as you noted. But I do think if we're going to have an intermediate court, it ought to be available to all citizens, or as many citizens as possible. And when you add in that criminal component, it becomes available to many more people.
The money factor in opening that up to criminal proceedings, what's your take? And as the finance chairman, how is that going to play into the future?
I don't want criminal proceedings to stay in it. I disagree with my colleague when it comes to the Intermediate Court of Appeals. And the reason for it is it's what we've talked about earlier, the severance tax roller coaster that we seem to be on. Look, I'm from the manufacturing and the small business side in business. We need to, and it fits with people like myself and the people of West Virginia, we need to get manufacturing jobs where we take raw materials and turn them into a sellable product. That helps take us off that roller coaster. Well, one of the things that business looks for amongst taxes and everything else is the court system, the predictability of the court system. And the Intermediate Court of Appeals gives, it does at first glance give the appearance that there's another layer in government. But also what it does is it makes it so that businesses can actually, provides case law, so businesses can go and look at the case law on that rather than having them reviewed. And we actually have an appeals court right now. The Supreme Court does that, but and this gentleman here is the lawyer. I'm not. I'm a plumber and electrician. But it makes it so that it brings a level of predictability in, and above all else, it puts a checkmark box next to one of the things that businesses that would be looking to come to West Virginia or expand in West Virginia, it makes it so that it is more plausible and it's a more predictable court system for them. Saves them money in the long run.
Right. And you had also mentioned, prior to this conversation on intermediate courts, the IDD waiver. My understanding is that there's $109 million set aside to eliminate that wait list. Again, this is for people with intellectual developmental disabilities. You were gonna interject there.
You said 109?
Yeah, I believe
90.
109, I believe. Is that correct?
Okay, it is 109
right
now. And we started out with 89 million, just a little bit over that, and then the governor added 20, and I took it down 10, and then we amended it back up to put that in there to move through.
Right, but the governor, he made that statement, of course, and you said you cut it a little bit of grief. Did his statement sway you to get that?
The governor's statement didn't sway me. It was what the members of the Senate. Look, if the members of the Senate want this done, then I have to work along with that. I don't run a dictatorship up there. I think my colleague will testify to that. Right. And so if the members of the Senate want this added back in there, then I have to do that, and then I've got to go and find the resources somewhere else. But at that point in time, remember we were talking about that cushion? I actually had a $14 million cushion at that given point in time. So we put it back in, then it went down to $4 million, and there was a couple other things in those amendments as well. But that's why I started out with the cushion and worked my way out. Now, there is another aspect of this. If we put $20 million into that, I am going to be a hawk, and we're going to look over the next year on this. Did we eliminate the wait list? Did we grow the wait list? Are we are taking care of people that are moving in from outside the state? Are there efficiencies to be had on this? Are there waivers that we could get from the federal government? Right now, there is no means testing for it. So you could be actually a millionaire and be on this wait list or currently in the system and be getting up to $140,000 a year, even though you're wealthy. Now, I have a problem with that. And so there's things, but that's federally mandated. So we've got to go back and keep our eyes on this. And I did this with last year on just a simple $1 million on Telestroke, made sure we followed the money. If we're going to do improvements, I tried to follow this money. It wasn't done in the past that way, and we're trying to do that now so that we know that when we come back to the Senate and we talk amongst ourselves about what's going on, that I can say to them, look, we followed it throughout the year on what's going on, and now we can tell you whether this is good or whether that's bad, and that helps us into the future. We need to be fiscal hawks, making sure that our tax dollars go as far as we possibly can.
Really quickly, would you support some sort of, it sounds like you're calling for an audit of some sorts on those. Would you support, keeping an eye on that, Senator Uhlenfeld?
Absolutely. I'm glad that the money's going to be there. That was a promise that was made by the governor at the very beginning of this session. It's something that the Senate wants to do, and we should keep a close eye on it. We need to make sure we're being efficient with those dollars, so absolutely.
Right. We just got less than a minute left. I understand that, the past couple of years you've got a budget done in 60 days. I understand that that's been your mission year after year. Are we in shape to get that done? Obviously, we're probably going to see a conference committee with this like we do every year, of course.
Yeah, there will be the ability to have a conference committee. And I always set it up and try to get the committee chairs to work with the finance committee to get the stuff in time so that we can work through the budget early and get done before the 60-day session ends. But make no mistake about it, that I won't compromise the Senate positions on some things. And if we got to go to day 61, 62, 63, so be it. But that is not the goal. The goal is to get it done in the 60-day session, and I think we'll get there.
Given that idea of trying to get done in 60 days, but also looking, into the future, what's, very quickly your priorities coming into these budget talks, towards the end of the session?
Well, we want to get it done in 60 days, too, talking about being efficient with taxpayer dollars. We don't want to spend extra days here in Charleston. That costs taxpayer money. So we want to get it done, and I think we can. I think we're to the point right now where we're very close to getting it all accomplished, and we should be able to do it in 60 days. I hope we can.
Right. Any top priorities as this winds down?
Well, I mean, some things that we're not going to be able to do this year, but hopefully going forward, including a cost of living adjustment for our retirees. They have been working on that same nickel for the past 20 years. We need to increase that money, and we're not going to do it this year, but I hope we can do that in the future.
Great. Senator William Uhlenfeld of Ohio County, Senator Craig Blair, Chairman of the Senate Finance Committee of Berkeley County. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
Mountaineer Challenge Academy. Before we hang up, Mountaineer Challenge Academy is something I think we both agree on this. The second one of those is a necessity, and that's one of the things that I'll hold the line on for this budget.
We'll keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thanks, Dave.
Joining me now are Dave Mistich and Emily Allen. Welcome to the two of you on day 55 of the session.
Great.
Dave, I just want to follow up on what Senator Blair said, the Mountaineer Challenge Academy. This is a quasi-military alternative education program for at-risk youth 16 to 18. We have a facility at Camp Dawson.
Right.
The governor in his budget and in the Senate budget supplies enough money, appropriates enough money for a second facility in Fayette County.
Right.
And we heard the senator going to the mat because it's not in the House budget.
That's right, it's not. So, and it's interesting to hear Senator Blair talk about, a priority like that being in the budget, at least drawing a line for that. As you mentioned, it's not in the House version of the budget. I believe the governor has made this proposal before. There's been some talks about putting this in Montgomery, the former WVU Tech campus there in Montgomery. But of all the proposals, I found it interesting at the very end of that conversation that was the one priority he made a point to stick in there. So
there are some other differences too. The Jobs and Hope program,
Right.
That's the recovery, or for folks in recovery, a training program to get them back into the workforce.
So both the House and Senate versions of the budget have cut about $10.5 million, I believe, and that's scattered amongst different line items in the budget, but in total about $10.5 million. There's some cuts to the First Lady's priority, this community and schools, over in the House, or actually over here in the Senate, I believe. But as this strike and insert comes in the House and then gets sent back over the Senate, they're likely to reject the House's proposal, and then we'll see as these conferees move on who has the upper hand, so to speak, in these negotiations between the two chambers.
Okay, and that'll happen tomorrow in the House.
Right.
Thank you so much. Emily, in the House today, Senate Bill 96. This is gun rights legislation. What happened with that?
Yeah, so a little bit of history. On Saturday, there was an amendment sort of made and then revoked. So there's an amendment I guess, okay, so backing up, this bill has come up in several sessions, or, you know, some sort of thing. It basically just protects your gun rights.
And it would prohibit municipalities from curtailing the use or the carry of weapons if you have a permit, say at a fair or some other public event.
Yep, so the Judiciary Committee, the House Judiciary Committee, when they got this bill, they saw that there was something about festivals, and they thought of, you know, events like Festival here in Charleston or Art Fest, and they, you know, just kind of figured there's alcohol present, will, you know, give counties, municipalities the option to bar this if they want. Delegate Dean Jeffries on Saturday tried to propose an amendment revoking that. It worked out very narrowly, and so the previous version of this bill before the House Judiciary Committee was restored, and municipalities are no longer allowed to bar, according to this legislation, if it passes, that kind of carry out these kinds of events.
Do we have a clip?
We do, yes. We're going to be hearing from Delegate John Schott. What was really noticeable about this is that he is the chair of the Judiciary Committee. So originally he recommended passing this bill, and he took that back after this amendment was made. And then you'll hear from Delegate Dean Jeffries. Both are Republicans. Schott is from Mercer County, and Jeffries is from Kanawha County.
The bill before you is the result of what I consider deceitful bait-and-switch tactics, which certainly offend me. It may not offend you, but ordinarily at this point in the presentation and the explanation of a bill, the person making the explanation urges passage of the bill. I cannot in good conscience encourage this kind of tactics. I won't be here next year, but I won't do anything in my final days to cause this type of tactics to be reinforced in any way. So therefore, I do not encourage passage of this bill. I will be voting red, and I encourage you to follow your own conscience.
Just because you have a permit does not take evil intent out of your heart. And just because we say you can't carry a gun in a fair festival situation does not keep you from renting a hotel room and firing shots down into this fair festival. You're mistaken by that. It's the intent of somebody's evil in their heart that does that, not a permit.
Something else I want to talk about is the solar energy bill. This is Senate Bill 583. It went through the Senate relatively easy, but things are always a little tougher in the House. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the bill basically would create a framework in the Public Service Commission, which regulates our power utilities, to allow larger groups like American Electric and First Energy Corps to set up, you know, a certain amount of solar energy, and they would be able to kind of increase rates slightly to make up for that cost by 18 cents. So some of the lashback today in the House, and we've seen this in other committees too, if you followed our energy reporter Brittany Patterson's work, there was, you know, what about the people that aren't covered by this solar energy? Are they going to have to pay, you know, 18 cents more a month? But still, that's a bit. So there were amendments made to try and keep that from happening, to, you know, put more of a toll on the utility company. There were also amendments about, you know, whether the solar energy products and everything that goes into them should be only made in America. So just that kind of resistance. Those kinds of amendments failed. There was an amendment from the Judiciary, the Epitome, that came through just to kind of clean it up, and a few other things. But ultimately, the bill advances to third reading tomorrow.
Okay, terrific. And one other thing, the insulin bill, House Bill 4543. That was actually in the Senate side, but you've been following that. What happened today in the Banking and Insurance Committee?
Yep, so the bill, after it passed the House almost unanimously, -4 votes, was sent to Banking and Insurance and Finance. In Banking and Insurance today, kind of after there were a few rumors that the bill wouldn't ever be scheduled. It was scheduled, it was heard this afternoon, but it was quickly referred to the Health Committee. The Finance Committee reference still stands, but you know, the Health Committee could waive that, it could not. It might not make it out of the session.
Okay, we'll continue to follow it. Thanks, Emily. Dave, the governor had a signing today for the Born Alive bill. Tell us about it.
That's right. That's the, it would call on doctors to use reasonable medical judgment in the event of a fetus surviving an abortion. We've been following this all along. He was backed by Republicans and members of West Virginians for Life. We'll throw to a clip really quickly and then come back and wrap this all up.
So today,
we're going to put a stake in the sand that says, for us at least, we stand for life and we stand for the right stuff. Now, these notes are great, but at the end of the day, they don't really matter to me, because you know where I stand and you know what my heart is all about. And for crying out loud, you know, at some point in time, we've got to stand for common sense. And, you know, if I had my way, you know, I could just write up here in a second that I stand for life in all cases, all the time. You know, but this is standing for life of the born. You know, it is just unbelievable, to tell you the truth, that we have to do such a thing, but at the same time, you know, we should be really proud.
And Suzanne, of course, you know, Democrats criticized this bill. They said it didn't accomplish anything. There's already laws in the books to protect newborns. In the end, most of the Democrats wound up voting for this bill. Should also mention that on the federal level, a similar piece of legislation died just last week. So, but here, it's now law.
All right, Dave Mistich, Emily Allen, thank you both.
Thank you.
Tomorrow in the legislature today, we'll review the status of multiple criminal justice reform bills in a special report and follow-up discussion with the Secretary of the Department of Military Affairs and Public Safety. I'm Suzanne Higgins. For everyone here at West Virginia Public Broadcasting, thanks for joining us. Have a great evening.
Thank you for watching West Virginia Public Broadcasting. I'm Caitlin Tan here with Adam Harris, and we want to thank you for making the shows you've watched on WVPB the past 50 years possible.
Your support of WVPB right now brings you and your family commercial-free presentations of dramas and mysteries, documentaries, news and information, and history that have captured people's imaginations since 1969. And with your help, you can make quality shows like these possible for another 50 years or more.
The programming is different because the funding is different. Most of it comes from individuals just like you who value this service. Please join them in protecting and sustaining public television and becoming a sustaining member. Call 1-800-456-3488 or go to wvpublic.org.
Becoming a sustaining member at $15 a month, and we will thank you with the 50th anniversary West Virginia Public Broadcasting mug, made here in West Virginia by Homer Laughlin,